Welcome to My Hometown, the program that explores clubs, organizations, businesses, and issues across Nassau and Suffolk counties and sheds light on the different towns that are making a difference.
Hello and welcome to My Hometown. My name is Bill Horan. I'm here today with my co-host, Nassau Community College student Corey Kaufman. And today we'll be talking about a nonprofit here on Long Island and that's going the extra mile in helping veterans and their families.
That's right, Bill. The nonprofit organization here to help military and families provide free and confidential counseling to active and discharged military from all branches and to their families as well.
And joining us today is Vice President and Head of Membership, Rhoda Shapiro, Board Member Judith Charnay, and another Board Member and Head of Outreach in Suffolk County, Regina Pfeiffer. Rhoda, Judith, and Regina, welcome to My Hometown on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Thank you very much, Bill. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thanks. Thanks for having us.
Oh, we're going to have a lot of fun today and learn a lot. When did this nonprofit, and the title is the full words, Here to Help Military and Families, correct?
Yes.
That's the title. When did that start?
I think we're going to be almost 4 years. A group of clinicians who have been interested in giving back to those who have given to us got together and we formed this organization. And we are serving Nassau and Suffolk County veterans and their families. And we are all licensed mental health professionals who do not, there's no fee involved, there's no paper trail involved, and we all work in our individual offices. We have to meet license requirements, and we are really looking for more Suffolk County clinicians. Our referrals tend to come more from Suffolk County families and vets, and they're either working or unable to get connected to the VA services, and so we are here to help.
And when you say licensed professionals, just give us the overview of some of the titles that the professionals have.
So, licensed social workers, licensed psychologists, licensed marriage and family counselors. What else am I forgetting?
MD psychiatrists.
And something we always like to hear, you said there's no charge.
Correct.
So if someone listening and say, gee, I need this, but I can't afford it, or I don't think I can afford it.
You're in the right place.
No charge. So take the pencil and paper out, start writing down what the ladies are talking about, and we'll give you key information as the show goes on. Corey?
So the mental health of veterans doesn't really get talked about a lot in the media, and especially how veterans coming home and how it affects their families. So what could you tell me about some of the feelings vets are holding in when they come home?
Displaced.
They feel displaced?
Well, they've been in a particular environment for, let's say, a year, 18 months, in a climate that's very, very different than here in the United States, specifically here in New York. They've been with their friends, they've made relationships, and now they're coming back to another group of people that are significant to them, but they haven't been with them in 18 months. And that group, that significant family group or that system, has managed to work without them. How do they fit in? That's a difficult problem. So that could be what Rhoda's talking about, when she says feeling displaced.
They're angry. They're fearful.
And before the show, Corey, the ladies were telling me that I guess almost like a football team, these people have had such a structured life for anywhere from a year to maybe 20 years, because if they've put in a full period in the military, they're used to being told what to do, to be here at 8:02 and there at 8:05, and now they're home, and like the rest of us, we can oversleep, and we kind of like that part of life. But for someone in the military, that's going against all their training, and it really can lead, and obviously does lead, to some problems, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and that's why we're lucky to have you here today. Now, what are the type 2 top, let's say, problems that you see that veterans come in with, or their families?
Well, as Judy was describing, can be a marital issue, a child and parent issue. A child could be frightened, Of course, today there's ways of electronically seeing a family member, but it's marital issues and individual readjustment issues.
And how about like depression? Is that something you see big?
Oh, sure. Yeah, fear, depression, anxiety,
paranoia. Yeah.
Regina, do you want to say anything?
Sure. My experience with my veteran, he was gone for, I don't know, 4 years maybe, when it turned out that he was being sent to Iraq. It was the worst year of my life. He's one of 5 children, the youngest. And when he got back here, he felt he never talked about anything. I'm observing. He distanced himself. If the kids were all together and it got too loud, there was too much commotion, he'd go to another room or go up to his room. He just seemed to be, I think the noise brought something back to his memory that wasn't good. He had been injured over there and spent a week in the hospital that I knew nothing about until after he got home. So he was dealing with the head injury and is still dealing with the head injury. And it just created that sense of, well, Matthew's here, let's kind of slow down here a little bit. So from my experience on this side of the fence, and now I'm a nurse, I work in a psychiatric unit, so I'm well aware of emotions and all that, and I try not to force myself on him because, of course, I'm his mother, and mothers are mothers sometimes the children view them as not too bright, as we all know. And I didn't want to force myself on him or force him to get into some sort of counseling because he said everything was fine when I obviously could see that everything was not fine. He was not sleeping. He was thrashing around at night. He had classic symptoms of PTSD and would not go over to the VA. I did subsequently get him in to see somebody, and that kind of changed the whole thing. But I think he's a classic example of the veterans that we see out there today. They're men, they're soldiers. They can take care of everything, and really they can't. They need a hand, and that's why we're here. And that's how I got involved with this organization, because I want to help.
Regina, I'm glad you mentioned PTSD. Judy and I have been, talking that all the feeling states that include that are involved in that diagnosis. And what comes to my mind as Regina was talking, way back in the years that I've been doing intake, I remember a wife telling me that her husband had to sleep on the floor. That's the only way. At the beginning, I don't see them anymore, but that was a major issue.
These are things the average person, myself, and I'm sure Corey would never even think of. So you're really educating us today.
Yeah, wow, they're really going through some brutal conditions. Well, you're listening to My Hometown on the Voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. My name is Corey Kaufman, along with Bill Horan, and today we're talking with the local nonprofit organization here to help military and families, with Vice President and Head of Membership Rhoda Shapiro, Board Member Judith Charnett, and another Board Member and Head of Outreach in Suffolk County, Regina Pfeiffer. So, is there a special service that your organization does to cater to veterans?
Well, you read the mission statement, and we provide free and confidential counseling and psychotherapy to post 9/11 military and their families. And tomorrow is 9/11, and I have to tell you, the names of the areas in Iraq that were battlefields, and we lost a lot of military, and it has occurred again. I don't have any details in front of me, but I've often thought about these vets who survived X, and now X is being focused on again, and how they must feel having given up all the time that they have to serve our country. And someone pointed out, as I mentioned earlier, that there never was enough attention placed on the military. And now it's much, 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 much less in terms of those who need help. The stigma has changed, Judy, wouldn't you say, in terms of the mental health issues? I just heard today that there are going to be mental health days off for kids in school. They're going to be able... So, that is a statement. And the military has come far in that department also. But it's still an issue. Men aren't supposed to have feelings. Women are concerned with having too many feelings that they consider overwhelm them in a way they don't consider constructive for themselves. But we've had various programs. Regina's been involved. We've all been involved, called R&R for women. We've been able to get some funding because, we don't
R&R stands for what? Rest and relaxation.
Rest and relaxation.
Okay, I like that. We all like that.
We've arranged for like a lunch and a day of
treating yourself.
Whatever
activities.
We like that too. The ladies like that.
Yeah, right. So, and women also have had a lot of resistance to coming forward. And
we forget that obviously there's men and women in the military.
Yes.
And you were telling me obviously many of your clients are women.
Yes.
The same thing happens to them.
Yes.
Ladies, in case someone's listening now and they may not catch the later part of the show, if they want to know more about this or give you a call or get in touch, what is the best way? How do they do that?
They call 631-602-0075. They'll hear a recording. They leave their name, phone number. Whoever is on intake that month will record the message, and we'll call the veteran back
24 hours.
Within 24 hours, and we will be finding what the issue is for the veteran, and we'll be trying to find a therapist who is in a geographic area close to the veteran.
Nassau and Suffolk is wide, so part of the intake response in the phone call to the person who called, we discuss the fact that you may have to ride 30 minutes, sometimes 45 minutes to a session, for the initial consultation.
But again, if this can help them, it's so valuable to what you're doing and the other professionals who are putting in their time. Obviously, it's worth it, and it's free to the veterans and to their families. So
right.
It can be a win-win for everybody.
I think another issue that I know Rhoda mentioned earlier was where we're now looking at kids and giving them a mental health day. Well, the children of these veterans have suffered severely, seeing their fathers and mothers come and go with their boots on periodically. They're home for a bit, and then they leave again. And we've heard, through the schools that those kids are having some issues. And that's another place that we are reaching out to deal with the family, the whole family, also the children, because they're part of that family, and they certainly have suffered and are suffering from the way their parents are reacting at this point, or just the fact that they're still in active service and go away all of a sudden for months at a time. You sometimes see pictures of a veteran surprising a kid at school, and the overwhelming joy on that child's face seeing his parent. So
that's a great point, and I thank you for bringing it up, Regina. We want to talk more about this and find out how we can help more of these veterans, but at this point in the show, we want to take a brief break and let our audience know that I'm Bill Horan. I'm here with Corey Kaufman, and today we're talking about the local nonprofit organization Here to Help Military and Families with Vice President and Head of Membership, Rhoda Shapiro, board member Judith Charnay, and another board member and head of outreach in Suffolk County, Regina Pfeiffer. You're listening to My Hometown on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have arrived in Philadelphia. Local time is 3:05 p.m. and the temperature is 67 degrees. At this time, you are now free to use your cellular devices.
You know that feeling when you get to turn your phone on after the plane lands? You can have that feeling every time you drive. Make sure your cell phone is stowed away whenever you are behind the wheel.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Good morning, Uglyville!
Every ugly doll is unique.
I'm Moxie.
Bobo.
Wade.
Those close to me call me Slick Dog.
Which is not his name.
And every child is, too.
They can be pretty lovable.
That's why when you travel, you should make sure your child is in the right seat for their age and size.
That sounds pretty great to me.
Keep them safe by visiting nhtsa.gov/the right seat.
Isn't that right, gibberish cat?
Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
And now we return to My Hometown.
Thanks for being with us here today on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm Bill Horan. I'm here with Corey Kaufman, and today we're talking about the local nonprofit organization Here to Help Military and Families with Vice President and Head of Membership, Rhoda Shapiro, Board Member Judith Charnay, and another Board Member and Head of Outreach in Suffolk County, Regina Pfeiffer. Corey?
So before the break, you were talking a little bit about how military families are impacted by one of their members' services. And you, of course, have a lot of military families coming to you asking for help. So what kind of advice do you give them? And what kind of struggles do these military families face?
Well, the military person, to avoid experiencing the feelings, withdraws, may go to alcohol, may go to drugs.
And that can lead into all sorts of other horrible dynamics that can develop in families, right?
Correct.
Does this take most people by surprise that you have an organization to help them? Like when they learn of it, do they say, gee, I never knew you were there? Or is this well known in the military community? You're a nonprofit.
I think word is spreading. We have a lot of activities that we send some of our volunteers to with our brochures, etc., explaining what we do and that we're available.
And just so you know, and to our audience, if you know someone in the military, and obviously they may not have heard the show today or maybe didn't have a chance to listen to it, you can listen to a podcast of the show by going to nccradio.org. Very simple, nccradio.org. Simply go to My Hometown Podcasts and then look for this particular show so they can find out all about it, how to contact you, any of the perhaps appropriate questions that the average person might have, and really help themselves out. And again, magic words, it's free. You're there for them. You have the top professionals who work with you and work with the people.
And there's no paper trail.
And no paper trail.
No paper trail.
That's very important in this field. Now, what are some of the other services that Here to Help Military and Families offer to the families?
Well, sometimes people come to us in need of food or in need of housing, etc. And though we don't provide that direct service, we will make a referral to the appropriate agency to get them what it is they need.
And it was great. And Corey, I think this was before you came in. Ladies were telling me that sometimes it's a homeless person. Yes. So we don't think of that as something that would come under this umbrella. But if the homeless person comes to you, you can either help them or direct them. And they probably have some of these problems because they're going through a lot of stress and strain themselves. So
well, there are organizations that have developed in Nassau and Suffolk, and so they are aware. We've made, it's a marketing job, so we've made ourselves aware. They have become aware of who we are, and so they might refer. They were at the top. Regina, do you remember any of the local organizations and their housing for veterans in Suffolk and in Nassau? But there are more. There's been, statistics-wise, more homeless people here.
So you can help them. And the point is, if they reach out to you, get in touch with your organization, certainly it can't hurt. And it might be services that are available, very, very valuable, but people just don't know about them. And I find that affects almost everybody.
Yeah, we have a resource, very important resource file.
And they can make good friends with you and become...
Right.
No, it's nice to know professional people who can help and want to help. And obviously, you're very good people to reach out to them.
So my next question is, as soon as military men and women come home, do you think they should automatically meet with someone to just like check in?
I don't know, Regine, if you know, or Judy, but I think I'm aware of some that there is a check out within the military system before they come home.
When they leave the military, there is. They've
right?
got yes, there is there, and you know, it's one thing if that happens locally. But a lot of the veterans are in Texas and Georgia and stuff like that. And by the time they get home, that's all out of their heads, you know. That's one of the things that I would like to see them be more, make sure that the veterans do follow through, because they do encourage them. But a lot of them come home and, hey, you know, my friends and my family and whatnot, and that just goes right. And I'm fine. There's nothing the matter with me. So they don't even think about that. And then as days go on, I think things start to change. They realize that they're back to an environment they really don't recognize. These were people that they went to school with, and now that some of these people are married and have kids, and they're kind of standing on the outside looking in. So, you know, that I've thought about that often in my own situation, that they need to push a little bit more. Now, they do have events, as I've been to a number of them out here when they come back, and they're mandated to go to them. Out at the airfield there in Gabretsky in West Hampton, they're mandated to go to these. They call them yellow ribbon events, where they tell them about all the resources that are out there for them, and as I said, they have to go, so it's a good thing. And whether they follow through, you know, that old saying, you can lead a horse to water.
And you know,
there's the issue.
As was brought up, that's our only base here. We only have one base in relation to the population in Nassau and in Suffolk, and so that's, you know, many other states have many bases, so it's a different experience in terms of the population. But I'm glad, Regina, you brought up Suffolk County, because we really are in really desperate need for licensed clinical mental health professionals who practice in Suffolk County, have their own individual office, meet our professional requirements, and are willing to give us time, because most of our referrals have been coming from Suffolk County. Now we have educational workshops once or twice a year now. There's a way to go online. I'm sure there's a podcast out there about, you know, military culture. It's very important for the volunteers to understand this.
Regina, I want to go back to your point. I think it would be a great idea in the ideal world if there really was a place, a veteran comes back, they have their sign-off appointment with the military, but now they're coming back. We're the other side of the street, so to speak. And if they knew that every month or every couple of weeks they were required to sort of touch base with someone, a vet who has reintegrated into the community, how wonderful it would be for them to have somebody to share their experiences with, who has gone through what they're experiencing.
Right. It's about building that infrastructure for veterans.
Yes.
Because it's not there.
No,
it doesn't seem like it's not there.
No, it isn't.
Well, you're listening to My Hometown on the Voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. My name is Corey Kaufman, along with Bill Horan, and today we're talking about the local nonprofit organization here to help military and families, with Vice President and Head of Membership Rhoda Shapiro, Board Member Judith Charnay, and another board member and Head of Outreach in Suffolk County, Regina Pfeiffer. So, exactly how many veterans are returning home each year, and what percentage are coming to you and trying to return to normal life?
Not enough are coming
not
to
enough.
us.
Not enough. Really, not enough. And you know what I was thinking about as Regina brought up that subject, and you, Corey, and Judy answered. In my own practice, there are times where I encourage someone who's been involved in a regular way and needs to take a break to come back for like a mental health workout. It's like going to the gym.
Touch base.
Yeah. So I don't know how this could be built in with the military and the VA.
You don't think
it's a wonderful idea. It's costly.
Do you feel like the VA's not, like, it doesn't have the resources, or it's not providing the resources, or at least not to the level that you need it to help these veterans?
Well, they do their best.
I would think they're very, very overwhelmed with numbers. In addition to which, if you make contact with the VA, there's a paper trail. And that is something that a lot of veterans do not want, following them.
For non-medical. And, the other thought I had is we haven't talked about a vet that comes back physically handicapped and has had major injuries. And, that's another dimension of impact where the partner goes with the vet. Maybe transportation has to be arranged, hours in a clinic setting. That's another aspect we haven't talked about physically impaired.
There's so many dimensions, so many different aspects to the veteran experience. Like whether it's they got injured and they're trying to live with that, or like they're homeless, like you were talking about. It's a lot of stuff a lot of things to take into account.
Because in the intake, when we each take turns every month, it's one of the first questions I ask. Your medical health.
A lot of intersections.
Now, ladies, once again, I'd ask you before we get caught up in the time limits of our show, how does someone get in touch with you? They know a veteran, their husband, their wife is a veteran, their son. What should they do? Who do they call? Give us the procedures.
They call our phone number. Here to help military and families. Phone number is 631-602-0075. Leave your name, contact number, and what the issue is that brings you to our doorstep. And within 24 hours, somebody will be calling you back.
And I think you mentioned there's no paper trail.
Correct.
And that's a big thing
fee.
Because sometimes, and no fee, which is another big thing. So I guess the question we would always pose is why not? If someone needs this, if they can use some help, and you can be open some doors for people who just genuinely need this and help them move ahead by life by knowing this, passing it on to them. And if you didn't hear the whole show today, you can go to nccradio.org for a podcast of the show. And again, any final words? I think you were mentioning it. If there's other professionals out there that want to volunteer, you're looking for people?
Yes, we are.
They can, excuse me, Brenda, they can be calling the same number and just leaving a message that they are a professional interested in volunteering.
And what a great way to basically help other people, help members of the military, help your neighbors here on Long Island, whether it's Nassau or Suffolk County.
Absolutely.
And if you've been blessed with certain skills in the fields you mentioned, nursing and psychiatry and social work, etc., how wonderful if you could give something back and help members of our military. So.
That's how we started.
Well, ladies, we want to thank very much that you're being here today. Rhoda Shapiro, Judith Charnay, and Regina Pfeiffer from the nonprofit Here to Help Military and Families. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for inviting us.
I'm Bill Horan. I'm here with Corey Kaufman, and you've been listening to this week's edition of My Hometown.
We'd like to get your feedback on My Hometown. Send your comments to WHPC@ncc.edu. Nassau Community College, where success starts and continues. Till next time, this is Bill St. James. And remember, there's no town like your hometown.